Hello, everyone, and welcome to another one of our transfer talks. Yes, it's been a bit of a while, and since we are on this Tour de France hangover, we thought this would be a great time to do it. And as always, I'm joined by Patrick Blake of Outdo Cycling and one third of the Echelon Cycling podcast. And I mean, Patrick, there's only one place to start with, really. It's the Remco Evenepoel big story that kind of broke through the Tour de France, or the rumors anyway, that he's been linked to Redbull Bora Hansgrohe, also Israel Primotek, and there is some mention of Ineos as well. But if we focus on the Redbull Bora Hansgrohe, what's the story?
So the story is that Redbull Bora Hansgrohe are interested in signing a Grand Tour kind of winning contender. Obviously, they brought in Primoz Roglic at the end of last year to try and fulfill this sort of prophecy for them. But obviously Roglic crashing out the Tour de France has sort of stirred up some rumours as to where Redbull Bora Hansgrohe are going to get this Grand Tour winning contender from. The likes of Pogačar and Vingegaard are fairly set in stone, staying in their teams. They've got really long contracts, but Evenepoel is a little bit up in the air, obviously just finishing third in the Tour de France this year. He is a Grand Tour winner after all. He won the Vuelta in 2022, and it looks like Redbull Bora Hansgrohe are looking to try and sign him up for the 2025 season, or if not then trying to get him in a later season. What do you reckon to this, Scott? I think at the end of the day, if you need to try and find a Grand Tour contender at the moment, it's pretty few and far between, considering that the victories of them seem to be occupied by just a handful of riders. Do you reckon Redbull Bora Hansgrohe are correct in going to try and sign Remco, or do you reckon it's just another kind of Roglic situation?
I think they should absolutely try and sign him with everything they've got. Give him anything he wants. Red Bull deals. If he wants a picture with Max Verstappen, if he wants to be in a F1 car, he wants a parachute video out of a helicopter, give him whatever. I think Remco Evenepoel well and truly showed in this year's Tour de France that he is that cut above everyone else, apart from Jonas Vingegaard and Tadej Pogačar. And the Roglic project, I think, has kind of, the wheels have come off to some extent. Yes, I know that crash wasn't his fault, but yeah, it was just the faith that they put in Roglic. He is a bit older as well. Remco is a lot younger and is an incredible time trial engine as well, like we've said, and a very all-round GC rider. Just doesn't have that extra level in terms of the climbing compared to Vingegaard and Tadej Pogačar. But I think if you can't get those two, Remco Evenepoel is the man. And I think this could be a long-term project, and I'm all here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Considering that, Roglic is a little bit hot and cold, especially at the Tour de France, in trying to get victories. If you manage to get Remco to a Grand Tour where neither of Pogačar or Vingegaard are present, then he will probably be the favourite, I'd suggest. And I think that Remco makes a lot of sense. Like you say, long-term project. Roglic is like 34 years old, Remco being like 24, 25. He's obviously got more kind of years in the bank, so to say. I think the tricky part will be trying to get him away from Patrick Lefevere, because this has been the kind of Soudal Quick-Step dream, I guess. It's been their project for the last, 5 years since Evenepoel really burst onto the scene with those like Tour of Polonia and the, Tour of Denmark victories back in the day a few, years ago.
His best victory to date.
Yeah, but like this team has been slowly transforming into a GC team. They've pretty much just completely obliterated their classics style of racing, their classic style team from, the late kind of 2018-19 through to 2021 with Asgreen winning Flanders and stuff. That whole part of the team has just been and gone. I think it'll be hard to prize Evenepoel away from a team which has been pretty much built around him. Like, they brought in Landa for this very role. If Soudal Quick-Step don't have Remco, then I don't know who they'll be kind of looking towards as their leader. They'd have to try and fill that void in some way. But for Redbull Bora Hansgrohe, it makes a lot of sense. And also from the kind of like S-Works ecosystem, because they're also on S-Works. So Remco's, aero bullet style will not be compromised. It'll just be, same bike, same helmet, same equipment and stuff like that. So it makes sense from that sort of ecosystem carrying forwards perspective as well. So I don't know how likely this is to happen, but I think that if he's going to go anywhere, I think this would make the most sense.
It completely gutted Soudal Quickstep as well, since, like you said, it's been a few years in the making, this project, and where they are now with that white jersey, third place, really repaying the faith that they put in him. And if this happens, it would be so bad for Soudal Quickstep, and they might just be left in no man's land for 1 or 2 seasons, unless they do a swap season and take Roglic.
I mean, maybe that might happen, but Remco hasn't come out and denied this. Like, there's been no sort of denial of this. Usually, when Remco's linked somewhere, Patrick Lefevre at least comes out full guns blazing and just immediately denies it. But that hasn't happened this time. And, lots of news sources like Cycling News, Bicycling magazines, stuff like that, they're all reporting on this, Cycling Up to Date. Like, it's all over it. Loads of news outlets that this is like a possibility. It's not just kind of random Chinese whispers chain, which has just led to us just kind of speculating. Like, this is something which has obviously got some weight around it. And the fact that it's not been denied makes me think that perhaps it is an increasing likely possibility that we might see Remco in Red Bull colours.
Yeah, that'll be different, to say the least. In terms of looking at it from the Remco Evenepoel himself, do you think this will be a step up from Soudal Quickstep to Red Bull? Arguably, if you look at the Tour de France, no, because Soudal Quickstep absolutely wiped the floor with Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. Yeah, I know they had bad luck with Blasov and Roglic, but Jed Hindley wasn't anywhere. I mean, on paper, the team is a lot stronger for Bora than Soudal Quickstep, but in reality, I think he's within the Soudal Quickstep team. They could probably sign 2-3 climbers to just strengthen the team a bit, and I don't think there's anything really you can do more than Soudal Quickstep showed this year's Tour de France up against the Vingegaard and Pogacar, because Landa was sitting there quite deep into some of the stages.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think that Soudal Quickstep put their best foot forward in the Tour, and that ultimately ended up with third place. I mean, third place behind the two best Grand Tour riders at the moment, who have won the last however many Tour de France's between them. Yeah, for Remco, I don't think that it's really a step up or a step down. I think on balance, the Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe team is stronger, but it also adds into the complexity that there's going to be other leaders there, like Roglic or Vlasov or Hindley or whoever, who Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe might put in as a co-leader, and that just adds to the complexity, whereas Remco is categorically the leader at Soudal Quickstep, and that's not something he might not get at Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe. How much that matters to him, I don't know. I think that he would rather be the absolute leader, but maybe that's something which he gets if they manage to sign him, because obviously they're kind of clutching at straws. I think Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe have had this big influx of money from Red Bull, and at the moment they don't seem to have that Grand Tour winner. Obviously, Roglic is a bit hot and cold, depends on whether he crashes or not. So I reckon maybe there's a bit of sponsor pressure to try and get that big Grand Tour winner into the team. And yeah, Remco does make the most sense from that.
I mean, we might as well also just talk about some of the other activities that Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe are doing. We know their budget has apparently increased by 20 million euros, as the reports have been seen kicking around. And we've discussed some of the transfers that might be coming their way. Oyo Lezcano seems like a done deal, but yeah, Patrick, in terms of other riders, is there anyone of note that we haven't really discussed?
We talked about Pellizzari in the past. He's coming from...
That is a good signing. That is such a good signing.
It is a good signing, I guess.
Is he coming midway through the season? Was that what we're saying?
It might be, but if it's not this kind of mid-season, it'll definitely be for 2025. So I think Pellizzari could work. Obviously, I reckon he might almost not want Remco to come, because who means that he'd have less opportunity. He might just get folded into a domestique role.
So some of the other transfers, well, if we focus about the riders are leaving as well, apparently Patrick Gamper is going out the way. Benedetti is retiring. Bob Jongels, which we'll discuss next, where he's going to. Maximilian Schachmann's been rumored to Jaco Euler, apparently. Leonard Kemner, we spoke about this one. I think Little Trek is where he might be going. Buchmann is rumored to Cofidis. Sergio Higuita is rumored to Astana or Movistar. That makes quite a lot of sense. Yeah, Oyo Lascano apparently is coming in. Jan Tratnik apparently as well, together with Mick and Tim van Dijken. Pithy, we talked about that one last time. Finn Fisher Black as well. Oh my goodness, it's almost all your favorites going to one team now. Aliotti as well is apparently on the verge of signing for Jayco Ayula after the Giro. So obviously, Jayco Ayula, they love the Tour of Slovenia. So they obviously saw that Tour of Slovenia win from Aliotti and went, you know what, we're going to take him. If you can't win it, you might as well just sign the winner. But yeah, out of those signings, is there anything that really shocks you? I mean, going out I'm pretty shocked to see Lennart Kemna and Buchmann maybe go out the door. And I mean, Sergio Higuita, he's been a bit hot and cold, to be honest.
It sounds bad to say, but they're almost really gutting the team a bit. Like you say, two big German talents in Kemna and Buchmann leaving the team, or rumored to be leaving the team, is pretty significant for a kind of German / Austrian based team to be losing riders of that caliber. And I feel like it's definitely a bit of a reshuffling of the team. These were riders who have really served the team well in the past, but maybe haven't performed recently. Obviously, Kemna had that really terrible crash in training, so that's not his fault. And it feels like they're definitely kind of shifting into a new era where they brought in a new sponsor and they're really kind of redesigning the team, getting rid of all that, not dead weight, but riders who haven't been performing as well as they have done in the past, and they're probably taking up quite a bit of money on the books because of all their previous performances. I like the redesign of bringing in Lascano and Piffy. I think that's really cool. Finn Fisher Black is a really good all-rounder. I prefer to see him, I guess, at Red Bull, because UAE Team Emirates is just stacked with talent that Finn Fisher Black only gets his opportunity in like Oman or whatever it is. And I like the Van Dijken twins coming in, and also Tratnik. That means that Visma Lease A Bike are losing 3 riders there to Redbull Bora, Hansgrohe. All 3 of those riders I really rate, especially the Van Dijken twins. I've always thought that their talents have been wasted at Visma Lease A Bike. They haven't been utilised to their fullest. So I'm happy to see that they're going somewhere else. And especially when you think of those two, Lascano and Piffy, that's a really strong base for a classic style squad. And Tratnik in there as well, obviously the winner of Only Pet Newsblad. It basically feels like Bora Hansgrohe are signing up a whole classic style squad in one swift swoop. And I'm quite interested to see how they'll be doing in the classics, because obviously the last time they were performing in them was Sagan, I guess. It's been a long time, and obviously Red Bull, Bora Hansgrohe not wanting to just be present as a Grand Tour team, but obviously as a classic style team to try and get coverage across the whole year. So this is where all the big moves are happening, or at least whether most moves are happening.
Well, we might as well talk about another team that used to be a bit like that. Ineos Grenadiers. Okay, we've dunked on them quite a lot in terms of just in general, because they're a bit of a fall from grace. Not sure if Jim Ratcliffe, he's losing interest in cycling and cares more about Manchester United. But Ineos has taken a bit of a nosedive. And I mean, for me, one of the really funny things was when Adam Yates passed Carlos Rodriguez in the top 10 of the Tour de France. Why is that funny? That's because he's not even the second best UAE rider, but he's the third best. And on top of that, he used to be an Ineos Grenadiers rider, and they let him go to UAE. So, and of course he finished third last year as well. Dani Martinez as well did a similar thing. They let him go and he finished second in the Giro d'Italia this year. Okay, Theo Gegenhardt, they can be fine with that one because he didn't do anything this year. He went to Little Trek. But what's the news with Ineos? How are they bolstering their team?
It's got to be one of the most Ineos-looking set of transfers I've ever seen. Like you were saying, reiterating what you were saying about, it's just a team which seems to have just be slowly losing its identity and losing its grasp as one of the top flight teams in the sport. So the transfers coming in are Axel Laurence, which is a cool signing, but slightly odd. Bob Jungels, which is such an Ineos transfer, just like a ruler, climby type. They just love that. Sam Watson, which I do rate as one of the kind of more promising younger British talents coming into Ineos, I think is quite cool. Pablo Castillo from Kern Pharma. He has had some decent results this year. He's a bit of a ruler-y climber type again, very much like Bob Jungels, but Spanish, basically. He's kind of like a replacement for Castro Viejo, I suppose. And then Victor Langalotti from Burgos, the Monegasque rider, going to the Ineos Grenadiers as well. And also, apparently, Jakob Fuglsang is rumoured here as well, which is just like, I can't
Whoa, whoa,
believe
whoa,
that.
whoa, whoa. I will not hear any bad
How is
things about
Fuglsang managing to weasel his way?
2019. That's when they should have signed him.
I just don't get how Ineos is seriously looking at, no offense, but like Fuglsang and the results that he's getting and wondering what he's going to bring to the team. Like they already have so much expertise. They already have these veteran riders who can help, foster the next talent that Ineos bringing in because they love signing 18-year-olds. I don't get that transfer. Overall, I mean, the transfers are just very mid, to be honest. But I mean, Laurence is cool. He has had a very good year. Under 23 world champion at the moment. Obviously, that'll change in a couple of months' time. But yeah, Laurence is cool as a puncher for the Ardennes and stuff. Although I don't get how he'll mix in with Pidcock. Watson is cool as like another element to their classic style team. But there's no big moves here, Scott, is there? There's nothing where Ineos is really making a move to try and become this kind of Grand Tour winning team again. There's, they've passed up on Simon Yates. They let Adam Yates go. They let Carapaz go. They've missed out on, I don't know, Remco is going to Redbull Bora Hansgrohe. I just don't get how they keep on dropping the ball on these sorts of things in favour of signing like 19-year-old Andrew August or something in hopes that he'll become a Grand Tour contender in 5 years' time. When at the moment they're just lacking behind everybody or most people in the peloton.
If we're honest, they should have thrown a bucket load of money towards a young Mexican called Isaac Del Toro, who won the Tour de l'Avenir, a bit like they did with Egan Bernal when he won the Tour de l'Avenir. Maybe they'll be looking at the Tour de l'Avenir being like, okay, UAE can't fit any more talent on their team, so now it's our turn to have the leftovers. I don't know. I think you're right. Yeah, Roglic, they've been linked, well, when he was in demand. Maybe they should just try and sign Jonas Vingegaard.
I don't know who they need to sign, but they need to sign somebody who's not just like a domestique, but actually a race winner.
You're right, though.
Dare I say?
Simon Yates. That's the guy. Simon Yates is the guy. He's free. Maybe get him back to where he was. And then you have a guy who could podium a Grand Tour potentially.
They need to bring in somebody who's actually just going to win races, or bring in like a sprinter or something to try and contest the sprints because they really don't have a sprinter. The wins which they get are from time trials with Ganna and Tarling, etc., etc. Tarling was a good signing. They need more of that race winning talent coming in, but these signings just aren't it.
But Patrick, other transfers. Uno X is quite busy apparently as well. Naturally, they'll be on quite a high after the Tour de France performance. But what kind of transfers are we also looking at here too? The broom wagon of the transfer news.
Well, surprisingly enough, Uno X are looking to sign Scandinavian riders, as it turns out. We got
not Swedish though. They don't like Swedish.
Oh yeah, true. Andreas Krohn and Kasper Asgreen are rumored to be going to Uno X. Both make sense. It's a perfect fit. It's like a glove to a hand. Absolutely no problem with either of these. I think they're good signings going into a team which is looking better and better with you got Magnus Cort Nielsen and Abrahamsen, Christoph, Tobias Harland Johannesson, and then these two. It's becoming more and more of like a really strong team. All they need is Jonas Vingegaard to sign, and then they'll be laughing then. But other than that, you just got a couple of other kind of bits and bobs. Obviously, we mentioned Schachmann going to Jaco Alula. Søren Andersen is rumored to be going to Lidl Trek. I was almost a little bit surprised that he wasn't going to Uno X as well.
Yeah, Lidl Trek is kind of a Danish team as well.
Yeah, it is. And then, obviously, the Echelon Cycling podcast favourite, Alexei Lutsenko, is leaving to go to Israel Premier Tech. I don't know what to make of this. I don't know how he managed to make it out of the Astana Kazakhstan team when it's like a Kazakhstan basically backed team, and that's where he's from. I really thought that Lutsenko would be here for all of his career. Israel Premier Tech, although makes sense. I guess it's a very Israel Premier Tech move, isn't it? That kind of semi GC but stage hunter rider. Lutsenko really fits into that. But then some kind of bigger names. Obviously, we were talking about Simon Yates. Actually, last time we did one of these videos, we talked about, kind of not jokingly, but kind of just in a speculative way, that Simon Yates could go to Visma Lease A Bike.
You were making a recommendation to Visma Lease A Bike, and I think we've just proved that Visma Lease A Bike will watch the transfer talks.
They must do, because Simon Yates is pretty strongly rumoured to go to Visma Lease A Bike, which is hilarious because then it'll be one Yates on each of the biggest teams in the sport going kind of head to head. So that's kind of cool in a way. It makes sense as a transfer, I suppose. What they're going to do with him, I'm not too sure. Whether they want to try and get him back to a Grand Tour winning status, or whether they want him as just a domestique or whatever. He could definitely kind of rejuvenate his career and get back to that kind of 2023 fourth place of a Tour kind of standard. What do you reckon to Simon Yates to Visma Lease A Bike? Is it just saturating the talent pool there, or is it actually going to be a decent move?
I think your recommendation last time was really good, and I think you made some good points. And I think what we've seen from the Tour this year, where they had Almeida, Adam Yates, and Tadej Pogačar there, and Jonas was basically alone for the most part, or just with Jorgensen. Yes, there was no Sepp Kuss, but I imagine he had Sepp Kuss, Matteo Jorgensen, and Simon Yates there. So then it would be like a pretty equal affair there at the front. But I think it's a good transfer. I think it fits. Simon Yates probably doesn't have GC aspirations as much as he used to. Maybe he's just thinking, well, maybe I'll just settle in for a nice paycheck with Visma Lease A Bike and not have the tension, the stress of focusing on the GC anymore. We will wait and see. But before we finish as well, there has been one extension of one of our favorites here on the channel. And that is the man who created history at the Tour de France, becoming the first ever Eritrean to win one stage, then the first ever Eritrean to win two stages, then the first ever Eritrean to win three stages, and then the first ever Eritrean to win the green jersey as well. He has extended until 2028. He said, Intermarche is like a family to me, the perfect team to achieve my goals. In all circumstances, the team supported me and trusted me during even the most difficult times. Extending the adventure for 2 more years is obvious choice, and I'm convinced that we will still achieve great things together. I'm looking already to the next goals, starting with the Olympics. There was rumors, I can't remember, 2022, that he might be going to Ineos Grenadiers. We talked about that here on the channel, part of the transfer talks. Actually, not this channel, the other channel. Patrick, his paycheck is probably added 1-0 to it after what he did at the Tour. Like he says, fits in, familiarity with the team. Probably going to sign a bunch of Eritreans. Tesfacion, they should really get on that. Gabraxabia, get him as well. Some of these guys, even Marawi Kudus, who's not even on the World Tour right now. All these riders, I think, would fit quite well. His own brother's in the development team as well, and I think there's 1 or 2 other Eritreans within that development team. So, it's just the Belgian Eritrean World Tour team, I think. And, I'm all here for the journey.
It makes sense. You've seen a lot of riders being quite committed to just like one team now. Like we even saw Derek G getting a massive extension from Israel Premier Tech, and it's not just the big teams which are handing out these big contracts. It's also these kind of mid-level teams as well. Obviously, they want to keep Bini. He is a sensational talent and is one which you're going to want to keep hold of, just because he is a very special rider, and he also brings that kind of social media presence. He brings that kind of publicity to the team as well. And I think that it's a really good move to try and get him signed up. And like you say, if they tried to get another couple of Eritreans in there, it would be kind of like a cool national identity to have like his Eritrean little bracket to Intermarche. Obviously, I hope they've got the budget to, have everybody else on the books as well. Maybe they'll be going to Intermarche and saying, can we have a little bit more money, because Vinny needs a little bit more money and we need to keep everyone else on. So who knows, maybe we'll see some more signings to try and support Vinny as well from Intermarche, but that'll have to come in another episode of Transfer Talks, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's a good place to finish. And I hope you've enjoyed our transfer talks. We have more to come this year. Remember, the market still hasn't opened. But if you haven't already, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel here on the Cycling Dane Extra, and of course, check out Patrick's own channel, I'll Do Cycling, and we will be back next time with more transfers. So with that, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.